I think there's four big, very important macro drivers for gold. The first one, I mentioned it before already, M2, money supply, the liquidity basically in the system, constantly being expanded over the last few years, and especially now again in the last few months. And not only in America, but also in the Eurozone, in Japan, in China, wherever you go, basically. If you would look at South Africa or Brazil, you would basically see similar numbers. So liquidity expansion. Second big driver is the bear market in bonds, especially in the long-term bonds. So the long end of the bond market, I think the Fed has lost control over it already. We have still a rather persistent inflation. And if you're an institutional investor and you have to seek safe, conservative, long-term bonds, and now you're in a bear market in bonds, it's very challenging. So I assume more and more institutional money will go into gold because it's the only other asset that they can buy. So that's the second driver. The third driver is central bank buying. We haven't seen that in like decades, that strong demand from central banks. Of course, it increased dramatically since Russia invaded Ukraine, when the whole world realized like, whoa, the Americans, NATO, the Europeans just can confiscate our assets whenever, however they want. So now lots of emerging market central banks and nations are trying to diversify themselves out of the dollar, out of the euro, de-dollarization. Central banks are buying gold. They don't chase gold, but they also don't really care about $100, $200. So that's exactly what we've seen over the last 14 months. Whenever there was a consolidation in gold, you didn't really have a big pullback because very quickly physical demand showed up in the market again. And the last one, which is also very important, probably the most important besides the central banks, is China. China is buying gold like crazy. The people in China are buying gold. They love gold. And the central bank is also buying gold on a consistent monthly basis.